Now, most people, I'm sure you know people that they get in a rut and they stay there for a very long time. They go in a circle. They blame every external circumstance except for themselves. You guys know something like that? Put your hands up if you've ever seen that. Right. Happens often, right? Now, the hard part is how do we get unstuck? How do we use our mind to take us to where we want to be in the future? So we had one opportunity to move into this house, and this is the house we moved into. On this screen, you could see that's me. I don't know what I'm doing, trying to be cool with my thumbs up, and all my sisters there hanging out. So around that corner on this screen is my mom. The very first day, she's like, "Kendal, there's your room right there." I was like, wow, I get my own room. I can't believe this. And I was like, well, where's Kendra, Fair, and Mercy going to sleep? She's like, this other room around the hallway. I was like, okay, well, where are you going to sleep? I'm going to sleep right there on that couch, right at the corner of that picture. That's where my mom slept up until I graduated high school. My mom sacrificed for myself, my sisters, so we can have an opportunity to succeed. And that's where we stayed. And for the next 12 years of my life, going from grade 1 to high school, I loved to do this one thing called play sports. Who likes to play sports? Put your hands up if you do. And some of you have children who play sports now. And I have 2 children now. I have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old. And my children are also getting into sports. So I love sports. At the time, anything I get my hands on, I'd play it. I forced my sister Kendra to come outside and kick the ball back and forth. I have to say, Mom, Kendra won't play with me outside, and she'd get kicked first and come play with me. So that's the kind of stuff that we would do. We played sports all the time. And I went to this place by the time I was in grade 3. My mom took me out of my comfort zone the very first time. It's kind of like you making your first sale for the first time. You're nervous as heck. Some of you are sweating. Some of you are jittery, right? Making that first cold call, right? I've been there. But here was the first time I was in grade 3, taken out of a predominantly First Nation school where everything I knew was comfortable to me, putting into a predominantly white school where middle-class farmers, I had no idea how they walk, talk, and dress, and I was thrown into that school. And the very first day, it was the very first time I ever felt culture shock. I felt nervous, I felt scared. And for the first 2 days, this is all I did. I couldn't say nothing. I studied, I listened. And 2 days later, at recess, kicking the ball back and forth, I jumped into this group of kids that were kicking the ball back and forth, and I started asking them crazy questions like, hey, how are your crops doing, guys? How much rain you get last night? Right? These guys were all farmers. I had no idea what they were talking about, but that's what they talked about. And I was able to adapt and make friends. And by the time I was in grade 5, I had met my best friend. And my best friend was from this place called South Africa. And his name is Johan. And Johan was a kid that changed my life, because at 10 years old, Johan asked me one day at recess, my bus just pulls up. Picture this, my bus just pulled up. We're sitting there right beside each other, kicking the ball back and forth, and I'm ready to leave. I'm ready to turn to the bus and go walk on the bus. He's like, Kendal, why aren't you staying after school to play with us? I had to tell Johan that I don't have a ride. We don't have a vehicle. We're living on welfare. There's no jobs back home. There's no economic development. There's nothing like that back home. I don't have $50 to pay this fee. I was so ashamed when I walked away and I jumped on the bus and went home. I thought about it all night. Next day I come to school. Johan says, hey Kendal, good news. I told my parents what you told me, and we want to help you out. Think about the people that you want to help in the future. Think about these people, because this is real right here. This is how one family changed my life. This family, who I didn't even know, started picking me up from my First Nations community, driving me to Cut Knife, paid for my fee to play the sport called soccer with a coach, empowered me. Grade 5, I'm playing. Grade 6, I'm at his house every single weekend, Johan's house, and I found my first role model. My first role model was his dad. Guess what his name was? Johan. So there's 2 Johans. Johan Jr., Johan Sr. And Johan Sr. became my role model. I was like, man, this guy's a beast. Because every single day he'd wake up, he'd do like a marathon around the lake, and he'd be working out and so on. I'd be laying there in bed just watching him work out. I was like, man, this guy's crazy. And after that, he'd be studying his craft, his gift. And then after that, he'd be making time for his family, and he'd complete that cycle over and over every time I'd see him.